Hey guys, Ryan from RNA Music here to give you a little helpful tip for storing your massive amount of guitars that you have. Alright, so if you have one guitar or 7 guitars or however many guitars you have and you want them to be accessible and be able to get to them quick and have a place to put them, maybe you just want to display them, because they're nice to look at. Guitars are pretty. But if you don't want to go out and spend a fortune on guitar hangers, this is for you. I'm going to give you a little tutorial on how to make your own guitar hangers that are sturdy and they look great and they're super affordable. Okay? Right now I'm in the lesson studio at RNA Music, and you can see we've got several guitars. And basses and such. And I needed a place to hang them. And this is just personal guitars. This isn't guitars for sale at RNA Music, but there you go. So, I'm going to show you how to make some. Alright, stay tuned. Alright guys, so to make these cool guitar hangers, we're going to need a little bit of supplies, but fear not, they are very affordable. This is definitely not going to cost you an arm and a leg. This is going to be great. So one of the things you're going to need, hopefully you're going to need a drill, Craftsman, those are great, use whatever you got, a can of black spray paint, which costs about 99 cents, flat black looks good, I like that. You are going to need this little tool hanger. This is made by Crawford, and the actual part number is SH13. And this is made for hanging tools, but it's got a nice coating on it, which looks good. It also has a little upward kind of swoop at the end of it, so your guitar rests gently in there and won't fall off. Those are around, $2 to $3 depending where you can get it. You can get them in Ace Hardware here in the States. You can also get it online. So there's a lot of places you can order one online. Just think of Crawford tool hanger, part number SH13. Okay, Ace Hardware's got them. They have them in my local town. I've bought a lot from my local Ace Hardware people. Okay, you're gonna need, this is just a pine block. You can get it from the hardware store as well, and these are like $1.79. It's just a little, kind of like a molding piece, but let's see, just wood. Okay, you're gonna need some drill bits. You're gonna need a countersink. That's what this is, a countersink bit, so that when you actually drill into the wood, it recesses a little bit, so when you use your mounting screws like this, they're going to actually kind of sit down in the block a little bit, so it's nice and flush and great. So that's you're going to need a countersink, and so whatever size screws you use to mount that, you're going to need a countersink. So if you use like number 8 wood screws, you're going to need a number 8 countersink bit. Okay. You're also going to need a drill bit. This one's rather large. This is a 5/16 drill bit for drilling the hole that the hanger is actually going to sit in. Alright, so if you don't have these, yeah, you may have to go buy them. These are not super expensive, if you don't have one. And then, of course, you'll need some screws. Now, you can use wood screws if you're going to go like into a 2x4. You could use a 2x4 instead of this if you wanted to. I think this looks nicer. On most of mine, I actually use drywall screws because they're black. And since we're going to paint the block black, I like how that looks. Alright. So these are the basic materials you're going to need to build a guitar hanger. Alright, so to take you through the process, we are actually going to build one. Alright, check it out. Alright, for you guys who want to get like stupid crazy with the measurements, that's fine. On this little block, basically you want to measure the width of the block and then find directly in the middle of it. Now on this particular block I have, that ends up being about 1 3/8 inches. If I go over 1 3/8 inches on my ruler, that gives me basically the middle of this block. So I'm going to make some little guide marks. 1 3/8 inches, it's about right here. So I'm going to put a little mark with a pencil. Okay, up here, 1 3/8 inches. These are for my where I'm going to drill the holes. Directly in the middle is where I'm going to make a mark for where we're actually going to put the part that's going to hold this. All right. Basically, I just made some marks. I may come through with a ruler and with a straight edge and draw a little line to have a center line, because this is all going to be covered up with paint anyways. So I've got my nifty James Hetfield Papa Het pick box. This will make a great straight edge, because I don't have a regular ruler handy just this second. Alright, so I've got my guideline, and of course you can also measure this way if you want to. If you want to find the exact center, this is about 4.5 inches long. So about 2.25 inches is where I want to drill the center hole. And just by eyeballing it, I might set it up slightly higher. I like it. I like the way it looks if it's a little bit taller than that. But that's basically a simple way. You just want to make sure you're in the dead center of the block, from the outside edges. Now from top to bottom, if you want to put the hole right in the center, that's fine. You might want to put it slightly off center just so it'll look, just depending on how it looks. It's up to you. Next, all we have to do is drill some holes. All right, let's get the power tools going. All right, guys. So now time to drill some holes. So I've got, I like to use nice 2x6 or 2x4 as a backing to put my block on, so that when I'm drilling, I don't drill a hole down into the floor or into anything that's on the underside of the block. So I've got a scrap piece of carpet here that actually my 2x6 is on. I normally do this outside on the concrete, outside, but there's a lot of traffic outside today. I was afraid you wouldn't be able to hear me. So today we're doing inside. I just got some scrap carpet on the floor just to keep my nice wood floor from getting scratched up. But as always, be extremely careful when using power tools. If you are a youngster, if you are a minor, if you're under 18, definitely check with your folks first. Ask your parents, hey, or get your dad or your uncle or somebody to help you with this. Be safe, okay? I've done this a lot, and I'm used to working with power tools and stuff, and so it's not a big deal. But just be very careful. Go slow. I'm going to drill the main hole first. If you have a drill press handy, that's actually a really great way to do this. It's a lot better than using a
a hand drill. But if you don't have a drill press, then you got to make do with what you got to make do with. So there we go. Dump this in the trash. Okay, so we got our nice center hole drilled here. Time to switch drill bits. I'm going to use my countersink bit now. All right. Again, be very careful. I've already got my locations marked where I want to drill these holes. Go very slowly at first. So you have a nice countersunk hole here. That'll hide that screw very nicely. Let's do the other one. Start slow. You don't have to go very far into this block with that countersink for that screw to be recessed in there. I made mine a little off center. I want the hanger to not be exactly in the middle of this block. Aesthetically, I want it to be a little bit off centered for the hanger part. You're not even going to notice the screw holes really. So, all right, we got our holes drilled. Now it's off to paint and body. Alright, so now it's time to paint this thing. It's a little windy outside today, and so I'm going to do it inside of this cardboard box just to cut down on overspray and dust and dirt and stuff getting into my paint job. It's got some cheap flat black spray paint. All you gotta do is just make sure you got an even coating. Well, guys, we'll tell you sometimes it's good to have several light coats. So we'll let that dry for a little bit. Come back and give it another coat or two. Alright guys, so now we have our block of wood, nicely painted, a nice flat black. Make sure you get the edges, the bottom, top. It's not necessary to get the back because of course it's going to be on the wall. So there you go. See,
You look there. Okay. So there is our block. Now, one important thing to note, as I will point this out, if you use this is called a casing block. You can find it in the trim section of the hardware stores. The thing with these casing blocks is when you put this hanger in there, you can see if you go in very deep with the screw part, then you're going to have some of this hanger part. It's going to come poking out the back. Right? Now, if that bothers you, that's just something to think about, because when you're going into, I'll show you another one I made. This is another one I made. It has a different block instead of the casing. It's got a kind of a rosette sort of trim block. I started with these. I don't like them as much because trying to drill out the center of this hole is difficult because it has like a little dome to it, and that's really difficult to drill without it getting a little messed up. So just the flat casing blocks work better. I like those better personally. But so here's the deal: when I screw this the hanger part into this block or the casing block deep enough, it is going to go into the sheetrock behind. It's going to thread itself into this sheetrock a little bit. So it is going to create a little bit of a hole there. Now that's not a big deal, because if you ever take these off your wall, you just have to get a little bit of putty and fill in the hole if you want to. Okay, so here's another one I did with a different kind of block. This is a much bigger block. I just thought I would give it a shot to see what it looked like. Kind of like it. But that's just something to be aware of on the depth of that. So if I ever take these hangers that I have off the wall here, I'm going to have a little bit of a hole where that the hanger part goes in. But again, not a big deal. I've patched so much drywall with you just get some little stuff, patch it, paint it. It's real simple. Now, if that's a real big deal for you, here's another option. You could take a 2x4. A 2x4 or a 2x6. Now, it's a lot thicker. So if you use a 2x4 or a 2x6, then there's plenty of wood for this hanger to go into without the sharp pointy part poking out the back. You can do that if you want. You can paint it. You could take a big long piece of 2x4 or 2x6, like say maybe a 4-foot section of it. Take a 4-foot section of a 2x4 or 2x6, paint it black, paint it red, whatever you want to, and you could actually mount several of those into a 2x4 or a 2x6 and run that 2x4 across the wall if you wanted to. You could get crazy if you wanted to, like my wife. She's not crazy, she's awesome. And here's a cool 2x4 of hers that she has painted and decorated, decoupaged images on. That's pretty sweet. Yeah, that's a 2x4. Pretty amazing. You could do something like that and then drill a hole in it and mount your hangers to something like that. That would be totally awesome. I think that's something we're going to do. So, anyways, there you go. Hopefully that's a helpful tutorial for you on how to make your own rockin' guitar hangers. Like these. So, if you have any questions, leave me a comment about how to do it. If you need more details, I'll be happy to explain it. As always, be very careful when using power tools of any kind and drills, not to hurt yourself. Be very careful. And that's about it. I've made, I don't know, maybe 20 or so of these little guitar hangers. I've mounted them on drywall. Now here's the deal. Don't let me forget, with the screws, when you mount it to the wall, you need to mount it to a stud. Make sure that your screw holes for your actual screws, that this part goes into a stud, and it'll be super solid and it will definitely hang there. Gotta screw that into a stud. So I've done it where sheetrock walls, I've done it on walls with just paneling, but you got to go right into a stud. So there you go. This has been Ryan from Arnie Music. There's your tutorial on how to make your own real cheap guitar hangers. They end up costing $4 to maybe $5 each. So if you make 4 of those, you're looking at like maybe 20 bucks. Whereas if you had to go buy 4, they usually run at least $20. You know, you're looking at maybe 80 bucks, $80 to $100 to buy 4. Make them for 20. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon. Keep the music alive.